Good morning, YouTube. Yesterday we left off getting the handle drilled out and accepting the tang. Um, and we also got the guard done. Um, so here's the knife as she sits right now. We're going to heat treat today and start the cleanup and everything else. And then we probably might do a butt cap of some sort. Haven't decided. It's hard to tell if there's one in the show or not. But, I mean, she's getting there. Um, so, alright, we're going to get the forge lit. And we're going to go from there. Get her heat treated. Make her a real knife. Alright, let's get the forge lit up. While the forge heats up, let's talk a little bit about heat treating. Right now, the blade is in an annealed state, soft steel. We got to bring it up to critical temperature. Critical temperature is really interesting. It's no longer magnetic. You'll see, like, if I were to take a magnet to any piece of steel, it'll stick right to it, even the blade. But when it's up to critical temperature, it's no longer magnetic. It's why you know that's the time to quench. That's the time to get it in the oil, get it hardened in it. What happens is it rapidly cools the blade because all those molecules are bouncing around and being crazy, and you're locking them in a state. So what happens is it's really hard. And you could, once you pull it out of the oil, you could break the knife right in half. That's why it's a crucial time when you're doing the heat treat, because any flaw in the steel, any stress points where all those little teeth are, at the very tops of those is where it could break. Even where the tang meets the blade itself, there's little stress points down in there. So it's very critical to get it in, get it hard, get it tested, make sure it's hard, and then right away going to softening the steel back up a little bit. It's called tempering, and I do it with a torch. I like the torch temper. I can see the colors. Some people use a instant oven. Throw it in there, set the timer, walk away. 400 degrees, I think they use it at, for 2 or 3 hours. Bring it out. And when we get to the time to do all that, I'll show different colors and what they mean, how soft or how hard the blade is, and where it's hard and where it's soft. But now I don't know if it's true, but an old blacksmith told me a long time ago I was having problems with warps in my blade when they come out of the oil. It happens. We're pulling metal and all those molecules are bouncing. And he told me, well, are you quenching magnetic north? And I had no idea what he was talking about. So he explained that at that critical temperature, when you're dropping that blade and you're pulling it out and you're looking to see if it's straight, if you're not pointed magnetic north, the pull of the earth could pull it one way or the other, and that's how you can get a warp. Now I don't know if it's true. I do it, and my warps have basically almost gone away completely. I still get some here and there, not too bad. So if you're going to do this in your shop, find magnetic north. I know mine is that way. So when I quench, I'll be pointing that way. We'll put the oil out here and everything else, and you can see it all in. Now, I vigorously quench the blade up and down, because what happens is if you just stick it in the oil, you get what is called a vapor barrier, and it doesn't allow the blade to cool fast enough to actually harden well. So you vigorously, agitate the blade inside the oil to break that barrier as it's cooling. And you'll see me pull out and look, make sure we're going straight. There is a critical time in there where you can bend the blade, but I don't like doing it. You spend all this time on a piece, last thing you want to do is be like, oh, I can straighten this, and snap, and you're all done. I try to work, if I get any warps, small warps like that, some you can take out on the grinder, and some you can take out during the annealing and getting it back to a softer state after the hardening. So forge should be just about up to temp. We'll get the blade in it, check it with the magnet as it heats up, and then when she's ready, we'll do the quench. Okay, we'll be back. Now I've got the blade in there. You can see it right on the edge in the corner over there. I like to do this with the doors open so I can watch the colors change and the blade heat up. I like to do it with the edge down so that the spine of the blade gets heated first and then it travels down through. It helps kind of minimize any warps or anything like that. I think it's my personal way of doing it. Have my glove ready, and once she's up, we'll test it with the magnet, and I'll show you how I do that. I always keep the magnet real close to the forge. You got one or two up there on the other forge. So we'll watch it. We'll bring her up to temp, check it, and then we'll bring you over and we'll do the quench. Okay, we'll be back. Okay, the steel is pretty much there. I can tell by colors. I've been doing this a long time. I'm going to get another glove on because that's very hot. Even this far away, the heat is intense. You can see the flames, the dragon's breath coming out of the forge. So I'm going to get my other glove on, we'll test it with the magnet, and then we'll get ready for the quench. Okay, she's ready. We're going to point you at the oil. We're going to get right onto it. Okay, here we go. Time for the blade to life. Good. It's hot. In and vigorously breaking that vapor barrier I was talking about. You are going to get some flame up sometimes because I'm not quenching the tang so much. I don't mind if that stays soft. But let's take a look. Magnetic north. We're straight. Everything's looking good. And we'll pull her off the rest of the way. So we'll get her cleaned up and we'll do a hardness test in just a minute. Okay, I got the forge cooling off behind us. Now to test to see if your blade is hard, use a file. Files are a hardened piece of steel that you use for cutting steel with. Now, you hear the glide doesn't cut in, it skates across the steel. That's the edge. Now the tang I didn't harden. I like my tang soft. It gives a little bit of flexibility. You can feel and hear it cut in where the edge skates all day long. So this is a hard piece. Now we still got to be careful with it. She's very brittle at this point. I mean, I could break this thing in half. So now we got to get it tempered, and that's just taking some of the hardness back out of it, making it a usable, functioning blade that's not like glass. So we'll clean it up on the belt grinder so we can see the steel again, because it's, you know, it's got all this what we call martensite and oil soaked into the blade now. Martensite's another way to tell if it's hard. If you got martensite, it's probably a hard blade. So we'll go over to the belt grinder, get her cleaned back up to some bright steel, and then we'll be back and I show you how I temper the blades. It's down and dirty. It doesn't take forever. So, okay, we'll be right back. Okay, I got you pointed down at my cooling bucket here, because we will use this to lock in the softness of the blade. It's just the way I do it, and it works really well if you know what you're doing and you take your time. You can ruin the hardness, so you've got to be careful. And that's why I do it over top of the bucket. If some part starts getting a little warm, I can cool it and keep working. I got a glove, of course, because this is going to get warm. I cleaned up the blade enough where we can see shininess again, and so we can see colors change. So I always start back here at the tang, and I'm waiting for the colors to start changing. And I work the top, do this area like this, and I kind of aim the heat away from the edge. This is the thickest part of the blade. I mean, this is going to act just like a heat sink. You know, if you do have a warp, you can actually pull a little bit of the warp out just by doing the opposite side that the warp is on. The metal will want to push away from the heat. So if you do got a warp, this can help if it's a small one. I do both sides, so I'll flip here in a second. Now I'm still working the top. Still waiting to see that color change. I mean, we're still pretty hard right now. I mean, I can start to see it turning a little bit of gold. I can feel the heat in the tang. The tang is soft, so I mean, we don't have to worry about that too much, but I will definitely soften it even more, just to make sure at the transition right here, where the blade and the tang meet, it is nice and soft, but the rest of the blade is hard. We're starting to turn gold. Back to the opposite side. And this is better with 2 torches, but you can do it with 1. Start to turn a little gold. That means the heat's starting to transfer. Got a spine. There's a blue spot in the spine. A little purple. Take the heat away from that. Start moving around. I mean, the heat will travel down to the edge. That's what we want. Still getting warm in the glove even. I have to grab a pair of tongs. We're relieving all that stress that was made when the blade got hard. That's what we're doing. We're making it flexible enough to be usable, but also we are making the edge still hard enough to take a nice edge, making the blade flexible but not brittle. And down here, I don't know if you can see the color change, but she's starting, and the gold and the straw color is starting to transfer down to the edge. And this area here is a big area with no bevel in it, so you kind of want to heat all that up. The heat will transfer. You just got to keep her moving. Let's do the other side. I gotta get a pair of tongs. Now the edge isn't going to take much, because that's the thinnest area. We've got bevels on both sides. Back to the other side, keep heating. Keeping the torch facing up. That's the way I like to do it. Start to see the gold color coming in. And if you're scared to do this, you can always put it in a easy bake oven, I call them, you know, those little ovens that you can buy if you're doing like small meals. You can put that in there at like 400 degrees for an hour or two. But then you're doing, you know, the whole blade. I like to have a soft spine and a nice hard edge for a nice edge retaining sharpness. Okay, I'm liking this so far. We're going to get a little bit more down here in the tang. We'll let the colors transfer. It's getting a little warm on the edge. Cooling it. Remember, that heat is still transferring from the steel. A little bit more blue up in here. Okay, now I like all the way up to the first serration. Now, we can actually heat this while it's in the water. You know, it's going to work like a heat sink, but this area here that we don't have covered should get warm. We want the tang soft, so we're doing the tang area. Watching the colors. Start to turn a little blue. You can see on this back side. The edge has still got a nice straw color to it. That's what we want. Bring the heat up to the tang. Cooling as we go. Not to over temper. Let's flush this tang. Don't need the tongs anymore. So I grab the end of the blade. And now we can get right up into here. You can see it's already blue. Yeah, I like it doing this way because it doesn't take forever, and I mean I can keep working right after I'm done. I mean, next is hand sanding and getting the final bevels in and all that stuff. So there's a lot still to go, but a lot of it now is finished work because now we've got a real blade. It's a real piece, not a show prop. It's a real knife. It's got a heart, it's got a soul. Okay, I like it. I'm bringing it in closer for the color change so you can see it. Okay, blade is cool. Get you guys out of the light so you can see what's going on here. Okay, so now if you can see the blues, and it's hard to see the golds, but this is like a straw color, and that's what you want. You want straw color. Now, like I said, I don't mind the spine. The spine is where you want the flex, and the tang is where you want the flex. So everything else is blue or purple. You know, the hotter you go, the more color it changes. You don't want to go too hot. But you can see the areas that are softer. This is the area that's harder. So now it'll take an edge and be a sharp piece. It'll do its job. It'll be a cutting implement. So you can see it here on this side really well. The blue, and then it transitions into the gold. Straw color. Okay, so we'll get back to grinding on this and making it look like a knife again. Now when grinding the knife, you always want to do your flats first. Alright, and that is to keep everything in nice, you know, flat surfaces, and then you go back and finish up your bevels. So you want to get these down, get rid of all your scratches, any high points, any spots that, you know, hammer hits that are still in there, stuff like that. So as we do this, it thins down the blade a little bit, but also starts getting rid of all that stuff for final hand sanding and polishing and all that. And you can see the belt is running this way. Now you want to keep this blade cool. It's hard now. If we get it up past a hard, you know, a spot where it's turning colors on the edge and stuff, you're taking your hardness away. So you got to be careful. You got to always keep it cool. Do this without gloves on so you can feel the temperature of the steel. It starts getting hot, you just punch it in the water, start bringing the temperature back down again. Do it on the flats, get everything nice and uniform. And then we'll start working our way up to the grit of the belt. Once we get all this done, back down the nice, straight, no bumps, no divots kind of knife. So we'll get this going and then we'll be back.